tapes of what? Fuck you, prove it! I got boxes of tapes, evidence, other documents proving it! Just fucking kill me. I am killing you.
I was born and raised in the same house my entire life until I moved out on my own. And during my stay, I believed fully that my house was haunted my entire life. And it wasn't because I wanted to believe it. It was the only way to rationalize what was happening in the house. The events that would happen, the things that would happen. Certain rooms were just terrifying to be in, which is also a side effect of EMF. You would hear noises, knocks, walking. When my dad would use a specific table saw in his workroom in the basement, every time he used it, he would hear us come home and he would shut it off to come up and say hello, and we weren't there. He would hear us. Now, that's going to come in a little bit later because we've talked about that in the past. So I spent my entire life, even when I had parties in my basement, at the end of the night, we would be hanging out, and when the music got turned down, things would begin to happen. People were scared of my house. People were terrified. Some people wouldn't sleep there. Trick-or-treaters wouldn't even come there because it looked scary. It looked too scary for Halloween. Tree well out front with this big gnarly tree in front of this, colonial style house. And it was just a strange experience. Everybody in my family had strange experiences in that house all the time. I did some experiments way back in the day. I had to drive my friend home once. We were up recording all night. I left a mic on, a condenser microphone, cranked up. And I left it on and I recorded it onto a DAT, an old digital audio tape. I drove him home and came back, which was like a 40-minute round-trip drive. And when I got back and listened to it, you could hear things falling and moving around in the basement the whole time until I got back. It just bizarre stuff. It had to be paranormal. I knew about frequencies back then, but I didn't know 1/1,000,000th of what I know now and know how to do. As some of you know, my dad recently passed away, and I've been in the house doing work there, cleaning it out, going through stuff, trying to save things. And while I'm doing that, I decided that I'm going to start recording when I'm there. And I'm just going to record while I work in silence and just listen to the house. And at some points it actually gets scary because you know that nothing is there. But you have to check sometimes because you don't know if somebody's really there with a bat or an axe and is going to take you out. Did somebody break in? So you have to check. Even though you know it's not real, you have to check. So it's pretty intense there. I began to record, and last night I got to really sit with it and listen to it. I got smacked in the face with proof and affirmation. Not only was my house never haunted, it was always artificial. Footsteps and knocks and people heard voices or whatever. That's what it was. I was never haunted. It was bullshit. And it changes you. I mean, it turned me into a believer of the paranormal. Like I wanted to watch ghost shows. I wanted to watch stuff like that because it affirmed what I had experienced in that house. But it wasn't real. It wasn't real. And I can prove it to you. And I'm going to prove it to you today. This is just a fact. A fact. There is a weaponized ELF frequency that operates on vibration. And it is humming itself everywhere. And certain places can be haunted that way. Or weaponized to talk to people. Or to do a myriad of different things. It's a fact. I have proven it on this channel over and over in the body of evidence that is the 300 videos And I'm going to do it again because this is very important to me. I lived through this my entire life, and this was a weaponized frequency. It's been two-way for a long time. A long time. It's been two-way. But at one point, they could only send the frequency and not know what's going on back and forth. But this is operating on a very real vibration. If you create a vibration like my dad's table saw, the frequencies will ride within those frequencies and create noises, voices, and many other things. This is the modern haunted house, and it's just a fact. It is 100% man-made. There is no debating that. If you want to debate it, watch every single video on my channel and then debate me on it. But you have to literally watch every single video because it's a body of evidence. It's 100% man-made. It is everywhere. It can be dialed in anywhere. And guess what? Smart meters gave your house basically an IP address. So it made this kind of thing a lot easier. And I believe that is why there was a big spike in people who were attacked with these sorts of frequencies around 2013, 2014 when they rolled the smart meters out. These are man-made pulsed communications, period. They are not an accident. They are completely intentional, and they are completely and totally weaponized. I have been working with this type of audio specifically, diligently, for over a decade now. There are two types of audio. There's surface audio, and then there's the deep ELF signal, the actual signal audio that sounds like a run-on sentence. What we're going to be dealing with is surface audio. I barely had to do anything to this stuff. I just boosted it up and did a little bit of tweaking here and there. I did tweak a couple to show you as examples, and we'll get to those. So let's get to it. This first example has 5 different versions, and I'm showing this to you to prove and to show you how ELF is used to create bangs, the sound of closing doors, all of it. It can recreate the sounds of your home. But another person, so someone that hears voices, okay? So I'm hearing bangs. Someone else can be in that house at the same time and hear that bang as a voice. Because what they don't tell you is these people out there that are hearing these voices have an artificial tinnitus in their ear. Many people have artificial tinnitus and do not get voices, but many do. So what it does is it creates a beat frequency that is higher and lower. So when the ELF is hitting, they're hearing the mid-range and the high end of that too. Now I'm going to show you how this works. This is the sound of my haunted house. It sounds like someone slams a door or does something like that. Let's check it out. This is the original. I just boosted it up a little bit. Now, here's version 2. It's a voice. That's an ELF pulse. But it turns into a voice as you tweak it. Check it out. So as it raises, it becomes a voice. So that is what someone can hear. Or they can hear the low end, just the bang. And then you think somebody's in your house. The modern haunted house and the modern voice here are the exact same thing. It's the same thing. That's a voice. Now here's the last version of it, version 5. So that boom is a pulse. It hits. You don't really hear the aftermath. But what is there is after the pulse and it's still vibrating, ringing like a bell, the voice is continuing to ride on that. So a voice hearer, one of these people that are hearing this stuff, is physically hearing something. They are not schizophrenic. If that is physically there and it's in my house, you cannot tell somebody that hears the voice that they are schizophrenic. Do you understand the reality of that and the implications of that? Now, this is just surface audio, and this is an example to show you that clear, audible voices can just come through. They will jump up and ride on vibrations that are in the house from the ambient noise from your refrigerator, from your hot water tank, from ELF. When none of that stuff is operating, there is still pulses and waves of ELF being created so that this signal can ride on it. This voice is going to say, do you want them?
Do you want them? Do you want them? Do you want them? Do you want them?
That's not a person. That's a pulsed communication. And you can see the flat pulse. Pulse, 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 pulse. Those are pulsed communications.
Do you want them?
Each syllable is a pulse. It is man-made. It is not real. It is not spiritual in any way whatsoever. Now, this is science that is repeatable. This is going to blow you out, so I will actually bring this down 4 decibels. I flushed the toilet, and you can look up my super spooky demon video where I flushed the toilet in my house, and you can hear like this old laughing box, Fat Albert, corny demon style laugh, right? Because it's riding on the noise of the water flushing down the toilet. Then I proved it again in the Jimmy and the Haunted Toilet video. Check the audio out. It's just toilet flush. Simple. Okay. Now check this out. And then here's the second part of the water going down. So let's look at the original. The toilet flush is here. Water goes down, then here. Then the water is finishing up here. Each time those sounds are made, the voices get very loud because there is a frequency bed being created for them to physically vibrate on. And then a female voice here. It's not strange when you've heard it 1,000 times. And they are the same voices that I've heard from audio jobs that I've done from California, New York, Norway, Australia. They're the same voices. The same voices. So what is the same 4 ghosts are haunting everywhere? Is that what's going on? Now, I also proved this before. This is also riding on noise. These are my footsteps walking through the house. I'm doing a lot of these things intentionally to test it because I've done these experiments before and got the same results. Here's the original recording of just me walking through. And then I open the door there. Okay, so let's listen to this with the ELF boosted up. It's following my footsteps. Each one is following my footsteps. And that's when I open the door, a female voice jumps up on that higher frequency of the door being opened. So the original, the door opens there. And then it's all the proof you need. And what's a video without a threat? Here, voices start talking. I'll play it once. Pulse communications. Those are my ghosts. Check this out. It says you're gonna be killed for everything. You hear how it's all to a beat for everything. That's because these are pulsed communications. They are set to a BPM, a beat. It can be sing-songy or weird. The inflection and the enunciation is strange because they are not people. These are pulsed communications. So there you go. Okay, you're gonna hear a fuck up. The system fucks up and it sounds like a crappy old Casio keyboard with the voice synth pressed. I'm not joking. Check this out. Now, here's a second version of that. This is the original, just boosted up. Now here's the great thing. Right here, right there, voice says, it says, alright, that wasn't good. And then it says something else here. And then it says shut it down. This system screws up a lot. It jumps up on any vibrations made. So if you make a very loud noise recording and stop suddenly, it will keep going for a split second or possibly even longer and then stop. Something, a noise or a vibration was made and that jumped up and it wasn't supposed to, and it sounded all clowny and like a Casio keyboard. Very interesting, right? Clown World. My haunted house. At this point, I was going around the house recording, and I was checking out different areas of the house with like a tri-field style meter. Here, a voice comes in, and it says right here, that dude's sweeping the house. I thought that one was interesting. It's harder to hear, but it's interesting. That dude's sweeping. Interesting. And the more you help AI learn, the more this is weaponized. Okay, here are some more ghouly ghosts. Check this out. And then this is what turns into what sounds like walkie-talkie style talk. Now, some of these actually have their own reverb in the audio. So it's designed to actually ring out on its own when it rides up on the frequencies. Check this out. It sounds like a really bad old Alesis effects rack style reverb on the voice. Like gated hallway preset for like an old Alesis effects rack. Check this out. So it's echoing that loud, like it sounds like a hall, you know, like a music hall, and it's my living room. And it never shuts up. It just keeps talking and talking and talking. It's like the ghosts and ghoulies of Tourette's. This is surface audio, like the rest of them, and a voice comes in right here. It's a lower voice, lower on the register, and it says, "He's dead." So I tweaked one so you could hear it a little bit better. Now see that? This is important. That's a male. The male and the female are the same voices. They're just designed in a way where when they are pitched up, when they jump onto a higher frequency, they sound female. So I pitched the male voice up, and it sounds exactly like the female voice that is used. He's dead. So it's concerning things that are happening in my life. Here is a great example showing that they are pulsed communications. Listen to this. Syllable, syllable, syllable. So if somebody hears that and they're hearing a voice, it is physically in the house. It is physically there. You can prove it. So the science and the psychology out there is dead wrong for these people that are being called mentally ill. Fact. Okay, here's another deeper male voice, and it sounds like it says, "You're suffering as a husband," or something like that. Let's check it out. And here's a different version of it. Pulse communications. There were no ghosts. I was duped my entire life. I can admit it. Can you? This is another great one that proves that the knocks are voices. And this is after it's tweaked. It was a knock. And it's a voice. Here's another version. It's amazingly hilarious. Now here's just some whispery noise. Check this out. It just sounds like you're picking up parts of a conversation, you know, like pieces. This drives people out of houses. This makes people destitute. This ruins lives. Here's a tweaked version of that. So again, if somebody is hearing this and I am proving that it is physically there when I do work on somebody's audio, they are not mentally ill. Okay, this is a point where the knock started to get really loud. And I said, I say this, I say, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then this happens. Now. And that's a voice too. It's just banging, because it can either sound like footsteps, it can sound like bangs, it can sound like a voice. And it is ruining more and more lives every day. Every day. Whether people are hearing it as voices or experiencing it as a haunted house. Now here is a voice that I've heard in 1,000 recordings. The generic commenter. I believe I was in the hallway when this happened. Totally fake, totally digital, totally pulsed. Each syllable is like a staccato note. Now here's another system screw up. You're going to hear a female voice. I'm going to play you two versions. Now let me play a second version of it. That's that androgynous female-y voice. Heard that one 1,000 times. Now this one's funny. It's supposed to be like an affirmation. This deep voice here says, "That house is so creepy." Here's another version of it. And the voice continues after that. Here's a different version of that. And you can hear the ELF rumbling underneath it. It's using it as a trampoline. This one's great. It's always negative, you know, that kind of stuff. Negative or threatening or whatever, but always on the negative realm. This one says, "Don't make a difference." You don't make a difference. Now I wasn't hearing these. I'm just hearing bangs and movement, or I'll hear a thump, or I'll hear like what sounds like footsteps or something like that. You can hear the voices back in the recording, but there are people out there that hear the voices instead of the bangs. So somebody might hear like the house settle, oh, it's just the house settling, but to somebody else it sounds like somebody talking to them. And I've proven to you over and over in this video that that is exactly what is happening. This one says, "I'm gonna fuck him," or "I'm gonna fuck you." Check it out. So imagine somebody, you know, actually hearing this and thinking that there's an entity in their house that wants to have a sexual encounter with them. You know, this shit happens and people believe it because there isn't any other information out there for them. They shouldn't be afraid of it. It's all bullshit. In this one, a deep, menacing voice says, "It's my house." And then another voice comes in and says like something like, "You're gonna finally pay." Check this out. These things don't shut up. And there are so many examples. I could do this for hours and hours just from the recordings that I made from one night. There is that much evidence. These are man-made. What I will do sometimes is pretend that I'm hearing something. So I say out loud here, I say, "Hello?" Like I heard somebody say something, and I didn't. But here I say it.
Hello?
And you hear this almost like a bullfrog sound, like it's winding up, right? Really weird, but once it's tweaked, check this out.
Hello?
Now let's tweak it out some more.
Hello?
It's a female voice underneath that bullfrog type pulsing. Now here's another version, last one.
Hello?
Turns into a male here. So it just goes back and forth between artificial female and artificial male. And somebody would think that was a demon, and it's nothing. It's nothing. It's bullshit. People need to see this and understand it. Now, this is totally important. You need to look at this spectrally and see it. The very first time I pretended to hear it and said hello, immediately an 8800 hertz signal comes in right here and starts scanning the room. As soon as I say that, and it's nowhere else in the recording. Nowhere. So here I just took and isolated just the tinnitus style frequencies. Check this out. So that's what turned on. And here it is dropped down. So as soon as I was inquisitive and pretended that I heard something, alarming in the house, hello? This signal starts pumping up in the house. It's not an accident. Here's a longer version so you can see that signal was not there. And then as soon as I said hello, this line right here is me saying hello. That signal, boom, comes on and just starts trucking. Here's the last clip. You're going to hear a female whisper here. Now you're going to hear what sounds like a Star Wars character. There's a Star Wars character that talks in this really weird buzzing voice. And I think he's a bounty hunter calling in on Han Solo, I believe. And it sounds remarkably like that character. It's kind of hilarious. Check it out. Hear that? It almost sounds like it says, I don't even like this or something. But here's what's amazing. I tweaked the original and this is what it sounds like tweaked. I can't do it. I can't do it. And then it says, fuck this. It's always negative and affirming. It's not doing anybody any good. It's making people destitute. It's driving people crazy. And it's getting people to do very, very irrational and horrible things out of pure bewilderment, fear, and confusion. People need to learn about this. They need to know about it. It is everywhere. It is vibrating everywhere. It's on tour. It's on world tour, and it's coming to your house to play. My house was never haunted. I was duped. My entire family was duped by trying to rationalize what was going on. And there are millions of people out there doing the same thing right now, trying to rationalize something that is weaponized and man-made. We were duped. My house was not haunted, and you can prove it. We can physically prove it now. Alright, you need to listen to me here. I am not special. This can be documented all over, everywhere. This is a surveillance system, first and foremost, but it is a weaponized surveillance system. If you are attacked, or if you hear the telltale signs of an artificial haunting starting to happen, document all you want, but do not engage. Do not play the game. The only winning move is not to play. It is trying to engage with you. If this video doesn't open your eyes to this, then I'm afraid you're just too far gone. And thank you to everyone who has donated. I really appreciate it. And look, I got some amazing evidence while I was there. And I will continue to do this every time I go down there. So that's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
I don't like the world now. I mean, before I always knew I was a son of a bitch. But now I'm the only son of a bitch I know. Hey, make way for a real human being. Get out of the way, yeah.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.